Playing on a Budget is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com, the best Magic the Gathering singles and sealed retailer on the internet, GatheringMagic.com, your #1 source for Magic the Gathering news and content, and RogueDeckBuilder.com, my personal channel filled with innovative and entertaining Magic the Gathering rogue brews. Hi there, it's Kevin with GatheringMagic.com with another episode of Playing on a Budget. I thought since Modern Masters 2015 is right around the corner, I would spotlight a budget Modern deck. Speaking of Modern Masters 2015, I'll be traveling down to Grand Prix Las Vegas on Wednesday the 27th, so if you're going to be in the area, if you're going to actually be at the venue, I'm sure I'll be hanging around the Cool Stuff Inc., our sponsor's booth, and I'd love to meet the fans of Playing on a Budget. We are also trying to plan some sort of dinner or get together afterwards of one of the nights for the fans and some other of the YouTube community content producers like myself, to just kind of have like a dinner for the fans, but that isn't set in stone yet. I don't know if it's ever going to transpire. We'll let you know as we get closer to that date if that is going to be a thing or not. But anyway, I'm going to be there at Modern Masters 2, so if you want to meet me, again, I usually hang around the Cool Stuff Inc. booth, so I love to meet the fans. Anywho, this one is going to be utilizing a deck that I've played before on my channel with Forbidden Orchard, combo between Blood Artist, Forbidden Orchard, and Illness in the Ranks. So basically, you're going to give your opponent a 1/1 Spirit Creature token, and then Blood Artist is going to, the Illness in the Rank is going to kill it, and Blood Artist is going to drain them a life and give you a life. So we have cards like Soul Warden and Soul Attendant to gain some life. We also have Suture Priest and Bloodseeker to make our opponent lose life when a card comes into play. So there is a few cards I had to cut to make this budget. One of them was Archangel Champion. Archangel Champion is the best Soul Sister right now, as it has protection from red and protection from white. We also had to cut the Serra Ascendant. Serra Ascendant was our finisher in this deck, so we're gonna have to really rely on the Blood Artist and the Suture Priest, and that's why I brought in more Bloodseekers to be the finisher in this deck, to tax our opponent into submission until they go from 20 to 0 life through creating tokens. So let's just, before we go over the full deck tech, let's go over the prices brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com, our sponsor. So this one is going to be $175.20. We have set a budget of, I believe we set a budget of $200. Now, some of these prices are a little bit wrong because we're using more expensive cards because they are out of certain cards here. So yeah, this is actually going to be less money. It's trying to duplicate the cards I put on MTG when I submitted in their deck builder. So there's gonna be 4 of these here, and we won't get any of the expensive Apocalypse ones. We will update this, and sorry about the lag here. And then now we should be, 153 just from that oversight right there. And everything else is good. Like, the most expensive card in this deck is actually going to be Ghostly Prisons at $7.50. And I guess Godless Shrine outclasses that. But $7.50, these are a necessity in the deck, as that's another way of preventing your opponent to attack until you do get the Illness in the Ranks. And then everything else is pretty much under the $3 mark or $3 or $4 mark. We are trying out a Weathered Wayfarer in this deck, and this does run at $7 a piece. And just a little bit of spoiler, for the Playing on a Budget, it's been a pretty good success for the last one we did, when we did the upgrades to the Playing on a Budget. This week's is going to be a pretty sweet upgrade. I'm going to add another color. That's all I'm going to spoil to this deck, but it gives a whole other angle of attack, and it's going to be a really, really fun deck. So be looking forward to that. So let's go back over to the deck tech. The deck tech is, after the creatures we have, again, Archangel of Thune is going to be one of the finishers, and then Bloodseeker and Suture Priest is going to be the other way, and then Ajani's Pridemate is going to be our other finisher. It's going to get huge because we're going to gain so much life through Suture Priest, Soul Warden, Soul Attendant, and Blood Artist. Onto the sideboard, we're going to have Return to the Ranks. It brings back everything in our deck. So Return to the Ranks is a pivotal piece in the sideboard if they're going to be removing these cards. We also have Crib Swap. Crib Swap is pretty... I didn't use Path of Exile because we were right on that verge. They're right on that budget. And now that I'm looking at it, 150 compared to 175, we could bring in Path to Exiles. So if you have Path to Exiles, you can use them instead of Crib Swap. But Crib Swap's cool because you exile target creature, and then they have to put in a 1/1 color Shapeshifter, which immediately dies. So again, it's got kind of flavor in this deck. I might actually prefer it over the Tragic Slip, but Morbid in this deck's going to happen all the time. Tragic Slip's going to take care of basically any card in your opponent's deck. So we have 3 Disenchants. This is mainly for Blood Moon. We have to kill the Blood Moon. And there might be some other problematic artifacts or enchantments that we need to get rid of. So Disenchants are there for that. We're running Duresses instead of Thoughtseizes or Inquisition because we are on a budget. Inquisitions are going crazy right now since they weren't reprinted in Modern Masters 2015. And Thoughtseizes are very expensive as well. So we don't really have the budget to fit those. We are also going to run 2 more Zealous Persecutions. We have 1 main board and 2 more sideboards. It's another panic button. It also, since we are running 26 creatures, it is a way that we could actually swing in for lethal. And we have one of those in the main board. So main board ways to take care of our opponent's cards. We have Virulent Plague, we have Zealous Persecution, and we have 2 Tragic Slips that sort of, at least can get rid of one of their threats. But for tokens, it's going to be the 1 Virulent Plague and the 4 Illness Rings and 1 Zealous Persecution. Now, we also have a few other tricks up our sleeves in this deck. We have a Weathered Wayfarer that can go get our Forbidden Orchard. We also have the Thespian Stage that can copy a Forbidden Orchard if we get it out. So, Weathered Wayfarer, I'm crossing my fingers, is going to work. I had Expedition Map in the deck, but it just seemed too slow. I might want to just try Expedition Map over, like, maybe take out a Zealous Persecution main board because that kind of guarantees that we can go tutor up. But you want to be, on your second turn, you want to be throwing out like a Suture Priest or Ajani's Pridemate. You don't want to be spending it on tutoring up a land and then playing it the next turn. But if we do need the Expedition Maps, we will bring them in. Another reason that I cut it initially is I was going to put Stony Silences in the sideboard, and I just didn't want to kind of hose myself by having Stony Silence and an Expedition in the same deck. But again, we might end up cutting. You know, I think we do need an Expedition Map or 2 in this deck. So I'm gonna add. Let's add 1, and I think we have to keep the Persecution in the main board. But maybe we can actually get rid of a Thespian Stage for an Expedition Map, and then maybe like a Temple of Silence instead of another. Like land-based, I'm using Caves because Caves, we don't care about damaging ourselves, so this is a great land in the deck. And then Godless Shrine, of course, is great. But the Temple of Silence, we do need a dig for our orchards or the Illness in the Ranks. So I thought about, we'll just use the 1 Expedition Map and call that good. 2 Thespian Stages. You don't want to get flooded out with too many Thespian Stages. The more Forbidden Orchards, the merrier. But I think Expedition Map kind of competes with Thespian Stage, so we're just going to run 2 and 1. So let's go ahead and try this. We'll queue this up. What I expect this deck to do is very good against any sort of creature-based deck. Very poor against combo decks, as we don't have a lot of ways to interact with combos besides the Duresses. Anyway, this has been Kevin with GatheringMagic.com. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching Playing on a Budget. If you haven't already, please subscribe to Gathering Magic and check out our Playing on a Budget playlist, which contains every episode. Thanks again, and hope to see you soon.